Main story this morning, I'm sorry, but I'm staying. The message from the Prime Minister, who's standing firm amid calls to quit after being fined for breaking his own lockdown rules. The question now is, will he face further fines for 5 more events he's been linked to? His Chancellor too receiving a fine. Let's take a look back at the timeline of events for the events linked to Boris Johnson specifically. The Prime Minister has been fined for his birthday celebration on the 19th of June 2020, where it's claimed that up to 30 people attended a party with cake in the Cabinet Room. The previous month and on the 20th of May, about 100 staff from Number 10 were invited to a Bring Your Own Booze event in the Downing Street Garden. On the 13th of November, Mr Johnson gave a speech at the Leaving Do for his Director of Communications. On the same day, it's also alleged that Carrie Johnson hosted a party in the Number 10 flat. It's claimed there was a Christmas quiz at Number 10 on the 15th of December. The PM insists it was virtual. This event is not being investigated by the police. And 2 days later on, the 17th of December, it's believed Mr Johnson attended another event for a Number 10 official on the 4th.
I've received a fixed penalty notice from the Metropolitan Police relating to an event in Downing Street on the 19th of June 2020. And let me say immediately that I've paid the fine and I once again offer a full apology. At that time, it did not occur to me that this might have been a breach of the rules. But of course, the police have found otherwise, and I fully respect the outcome of their investigation. I understand the anger that many will feel that I myself fell short when it came to observing the very rules which the government I lead had introduced to protect the public.
Short straw this morning falls to Transport Secretary Grant Shapps. Mr Shapps, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We know it's going to be a challenging morning for you, but we appreciate you taking the time. At least 50 fixed penalty notices issued so far, potentially more to come. It appears that Downing Street has one of the highest crime rates in the country this morning. The PM has presided over that. How can he possibly remain in office?
Morning, Kate. Well, look, first of all, I know that the Prime Minister has apologised for this. You just heard him say he accepts responsibility and he's reorganised Number 10. But, you know, I, for one, as somebody who couldn't see my own dad for 4 months during this period, during lockdowns, whilst he was in hospital, and we didn't know that we'd see him again, completely understand the upset and anger that this causes, because I feel it myself. The one thing I know, and I spoke to the Prime Minister, is he is completely mortified by this happening. And we know now a lot more about the day itself as well, because we understand about the meetings that were going on, 8 separate meetings that day before the Prime Minister went out and visited a school and came back and by surprise, some of his team had arranged to wish him happy birthday. It shouldn't have happened. He's paid the 50 quid fine. That's the right thing to do. He's reorganised Number 10, and I think he's got a big job to do, particularly with the cost of living, inflation, those pressures, and of course all of that coming about because of the war in Ukraine. And I think he's shown terrific leadership with regard to the West's response to that war.
So far, he's presided over 50 separate rule breaks at Downing Street, including that of his wife and his Chancellor. Likely that more rule breaks will be recognised by the police to come. Another 5 events that he reportedly attended. How can he possibly remain in office?
Well, look, everyone is human. People sometimes make mistakes. He wasn't there for the 50 events that you're referring to, of course, and many times he wasn't even in the building. He's human, and humans err, and sometimes they make mistakes. Okay, and that's what happened here. It's been a very high-profile job, and quite rightly, the police have investigated and independently come to their view. He's apologised. He's accepted responsibility. He's paid the 50 quid fine. The question, I suppose, your question goes to the heart of, did he set out to do this? Was this something that was done with malice, with intent? And the answer, of course, is no. It's something that happened in error. As I say, I've spoken to him. He's incredibly embarrassed by the whole thing. He knows that it was stupid, indefensible. But he didn't set out to break the law, and he's paid the fixed penalty notice fine, and has a very big job to do.
Yeah,
And
but he did break
I
the law.
accept somebody in the round.
Ignorance is no defence in law, is it?
That's right, Kay. But, you know, as you know, so occasionally people erred on the wrong side of the law during lockdown. And, you know, he has quite rightly paid the price, 50 quid in this case, and of course, reputational damage. But I suppose the question is...
Who should be responsible for the goings-on in Downing Street when on at least 50 separate occasions the law was broken, if not the Prime Minister?
Well, even when the Prime Minister wasn't there, he's already said he takes full responsibility.
So 50 times the law was broken.
And this was, I was going to say, this is 2 years ago, this particular incident. And, you know, since then, he's completely reformed Number 10. There's been very large changes, as you know, in personnel. But look, I don't think there's any... I personally, when I heard about these goings-on, was very upset. I didn't think I'd see my dad again. You know, I think that a lot of people in the country will have felt the same way about it. It absolutely shouldn't happen. It's incredibly serious, and quite rightly, that's been recognised and fines been paid.
Who's responsible, Mr. Shapps? Who's responsible for at least 50 rule breaks, law breaks at Downing Street?
Obviously, individuals who
So not the Prime Minister. He doesn't have overall responsibility.
Of course he does.
OK, so he's responsible for 50 times the law being broken in Downing Street, and yet he still remains in honour. Where's his honour?
Many of those times he won't have been there, but nonetheless, he says himself he takes overall responsibility, and I think that's absolutely the right thing for him to do.
Yeah, it's the first time that a Prime Minister has broken the law in the history of the office, more than 300 years since Robert Walpole took office. He's brought the role into disrepute. Where's his honour?
Well, as I've said, I think he, in accepting and apologising and paying the fine and reforming Number 10 and getting on with the job, including in Ukraine, being one of perhaps the most proactive
We're talking
Western
about
leader.
Partygate, if we may, please, Mr. Shapps. We're not talking about Ukraine. We're talking specifically about Partygate this morning. Let's stay on topic. You're talking about reforming Downing Street. 5 people have resigned, 45 separate breaches. So Allegra Stratton's gone, Dan Rosenfeld's gone, Martin Reynolds have gone, Jack Doyle's gone, Kate Joseph's gone. 45 other breaches. Who's responsible for those? You say that he's reformed Downing Street. Only 5 people have gone. 50 breaches.
Well, that's clearly not true, because there are a number of other people who you haven't mentioned have gone, including Dominic Cummings, Lee Kane, and many others.
Are you saying that Dominic Cummings broke the rules?
Look, I'm not getting into specifics of anybody.
Well,
but
you just did.
Saying there's more than 5. But I'm simply saying, Kay, there's more than 5 people who've gone. And the most important thing is, it's not just about who's come and gone. It's also about the fact he's now set up an office of the Prime Minister to specifically look after the way that the operation of Number 10 works. And you know, I think it's worth understanding that in Number 10, the Prime Minister, who leads a particularly busy diary, of course, goes from one meeting to the next to the next.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Well, let me...
Doesn't matter.
Let me
50 separate... No, let me just put it to you. 50 separate occasions. So far, the law has been broken in Downing Street. The Prime Minister set the law. The Prime Minister broke the law. The Prime Minister misled Parliament. Where's his honour?
No. Okay, by the same logic, anybody who broke a lockdown law wouldn't be in their job, would they? The point of this is that the Prime Minister
continually lying when we've made a mistake, continually lying when we've made a mistake, blaming others and not accepting responsibility. We know that people have done that in the past, is not a good look for a politician, for a public servant, especially the Prime Minister. Where's his honour?
It's not a good look for anyone, but he has not done that. What he's done is accepted full responsibility. You keep asking the same question. I want to make sure I've answered it, absolutely, but I can't do it unless you let me get a word in. I want to absolutely answer it. The simple answer is he takes full responsibility for all those breaches, whether he was there or in the vast, vast majority of cases, not there. And
so on 50 separate occasions, the law was broken. 50, and there will be more to come. we are told, or certainly led to believe by the police, including 5 separate events that the Prime Minister attended. This is just one event that he's been fined for, that his wife and his Chancellor were at. 5 other events as well. I could go through them if you want. I'm sure you're aware of them. If he receives more fines... If he receives more fines and he then subsequently quite obviously misled Parliament both on the 1st of December and the 8th of December when he was at the dispatch box, he should go. Where is his honour?
I appreciate that what you're doing is listing everything that you can, that you've got to list there, but I would prefer that we leave this to the police. I think they're the right people to come to conclusions on this.
And they've decided he broke the law.
What they have to say.
They've decided he broke the law.
And he's apologised, and he's accepted responsibility, and he's reformed number 10, and he's getting on with doing the job. And as I say, I completely get what you're saying, Kay, because I've been in the position myself of not being able to see my own family under these circumstances. I find it, I'm very annoyed by it. I find it, angers me greatly. I've spoken to the Prime Minister. He's mortified. But just to be absolutely clear, I think motive is very important in a situation like this. He didn't go out with malice to go and break the law. He was very, very...
He had a blatant disregard. He made the laws and he had a blatant disregard for them. 20th of May, bring your own booze party. 19th of June, he's already been fined for. 13th of November, party after Dominic Cummings and Lee Kane quit. 15th of December, Christmas quiz attended by the PM where there was booze and tinsel. 17th of December, 2 events there. 14th of January, leaving drinks the PM allegedly attended. That's not just, he made a mistake. That's 6 separate occasions. The law that he made, he was the policy maker, he broke the law. He then went to Parliament and said, don't know what you're talking about. It must have been them. It's not me. He was lying. He was hiding behind other people. They fell on their sword. And he continues to say that he's going to stay in office. Where is his honour?
You just listed a whole bunch of events in which the police have not, in fact, ruled as yet.
Not yet.
He didn't knowingly. So
if they rule against him with those other 5 events, will he go then?
Okay, here's the thing. He didn't knowingly break the law. He didn't do it deliberately. He didn't come to Parliament and having knowingly done this. He thought, in fact, that the same people who wished him happy birthday, who he'd already been meeting with earlier that day, was not breaking the law. The police take a different view. He absolutely accepts that and has paid the fine. I see what you're doing, which is to sort of list everything else that you've read in the newspapers that reported on. I think it's fair to allow the police to take a look at that rather than jump to all of those conclusions.
Okay, so let's follow that through then, should we? What will it take for the PM to leave office? Will it be more fines? Will that be the stage where he has to accept that he's not an honourable man?
Well, look, I don't agree, Kate. We live in a democracy and people have every right to vote to decide what happens with their representatives. I think a lot of people take the view that although something went wrong here, I think it's helpful if I can just get one answer out. I think a lot of people take the view that although this clearly went wrong, it's very serious. I don't seek to minimise it in any way, shape or form, not least because I feel pretty aggrieved about things myself, given not being able to see my own family. Most people look at this, understand that we're talking about an event nearly 2 years ago, that he's apologised, he's accepted responsibility, he's reformed number 10, and although you don't want to talk about this either, that he's getting on and helping to lead the West's response.
Well, because that's not the topic of discussion this morning. If you'll forgive me, I'm leading the interview, Mr. Shapps, and let me say, you brought up the fact that it was a democracy. 75% of the public, if I may, I wanted to respond to your suggestion that it's a democracy. 75% of the public, 75% of the public feel that he continually and deliberately lied. How can he remain in office as an honourable man? I'm guessing from what you're saying, you think he is an honourable man.
I do. And the last part of the point I was trying to answer is relevant here, even though you keep telling me it's not. People judge somebody in the round. They judge how they do their job overall. I'm not saying that the Prime Minister isn't a flawed individual. We're all flawed in different ways. We all err. The question is, did somebody set out to do these things with malice? And actually, overall, is he doing a good job as Prime Minister? Which is why I do think it's relevant how he performs the rest of his job, the rest of his task. And he made a mistake. It was embarrassing and stupid. The Prime Minister's mortified about it. But I think there's a big job for him to get on and do on behalf of the British people, on behalf of the world fighting this cruel war.
Okay.
And that is why I judge him in the round. And
Okay, you
in the
say you
words
judge
of
him in the
President
round, but
Zelensky,
now, and I must let you go in a second because we're running out of time. You say you judged him in the round. He's already been sacked twice for lying. He slurred Hillsborough fans, suggesting that they were drunken fans were partially responsible for what happened in 1989. He was failing to be completely transparent about the Downing Street flat, charging £840 a roll for wallpaper when people can't put food in their kids' bellies. And then he allegedly promised a business interest for Jennifer Arcuri, who was his alleged lover. Let's judge him in the round.
He helped to make sure that this country received vaccines before any other country in the world, got the rollout and the booster done, got us out of lockdown before anyone else, gave us the fastest growing economy in the G7 last year, and is leading the world's response to President Putin, according to President Zelensky. I take somebody in the round, Kay, and I think that this Prime Minister has much more to give. And that is why, despite the fact that I think what happened was wrong, he has apologised, he's accepted responsibility, he's paid his 50 quid fine, and he's getting on with his very important job and running the country.